Man, what's going on? Oh man, oh, it's a beautiful, 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 beautiful sunny Sunday morning in Georgia. Peace, and let's all understand that God is good, and God is good all the time. I hate to sound so cliche-ish, but it's the truth. So, about a year ago, I don't know if it was on a league night, and I coach in a pro-am league, grown men and things of that nature. And towards the end of the game, my body began to experience some type of change. I just felt tired. I felt fatigued. I didn't know what was going on. I got home, and driving home was a struggle. And I got home, and it just kept getting worse. I just was breathing heavy, struggling to breathe, just extra tired and fatigued. I just didn't get it. So got up for work the next day, did one run. I was just driving from out of Lithonia to Warrington, which was my run, and got to the country, grabbed me a sandwich. I always stop at the little gas station out there in the country. Country folk makes the best food. Ate the sandwich, and on my drive back towards Atlanta, by way of Lithonia, I just started getting worse. And I'm like, damn, what they put in this sandwich? This sandwich is bad meat or something like that, or I don't know what it was. I really thought it was something that I had ate. So go to the gym later on that night, and actually I'm sorry. I went to the league that night, the day I ate the sandwich, and that's when things began to get worse. So I got home, called the job, told them, hey, listen, I don't know what's going on. I'm extra tired. I'm gonna need a couple extra hours before I come into work. The next day I woke up. Usually when I get up to go to work, it's about 4:35 in the morning, sometimes 3:30, 3 o'clock, depending on what my run is for that day. By this time I woke up, it was 5 p.m. in the evening. I had 37 missed calls. About 10 or 12 of them was from the job. And I called them, and plus I had been with, the company's like a family-owned company. So, they know I'm just not going to call for no reason or whatever. And I just told them I didn't feel good. I was sick. I didn't know what was going on. So the very next day, I told them I should be straight. The very next day, it was 7 p.m. before I had woke up. By this time, a couple of people had stopped by, knocked on the door. A lot of people had called. I wasn't answering the calls. When I got up, I was struggling so bad, and I had to go to the bathroom. I was struggling so bad just to get from the bed to the bathroom. And mind you, what I'm saying, I just stay in a little, humble one-bedroom apartment. It's not a big space. It took me almost 10 minutes to get from the bed to the bathroom. I was laboring, beads of sweat coming off my body. And I'm like, what is this? Got to the restroom, couldn't use the bathroom, didn't have an appetite. So I'm like, I don't know what this is. Next, I said, well, let me try to go to the front room, sit down, watch a little TV. And next thing you know, my phone was ringing. My neighbor called me, said, hey, what's going on with you? Are you all right? I had actually passed out and blacked out in my apartment by myself. Nobody had a clue. Nobody knew anything. Again, I had slept almost. When I hit the floor, I was out for hours. I can't even tell you how long. I know it was well over maybe 5 or 6 hours I was out. What brought me to my consciousness was my phone ringing over and over and over again. And like in the previous episode that I talked about, who was that driving down I-95 at the wrong time? It was my neighbor from above me. Called me. Said, Jihad, are you okay? I was weak, could barely talk. I said, no. And she's like, I knew something was wrong. She was like, I knew it. How she know? I don't know. Maybe because my truck hadn't moved in a couple of days. She went to the grocery store, grabbed me a few things, got me some hibiscus tea for whatever, worth that was supposed to give me a health benefit. So the very next day, I'm like, nah, I can't go to work. Something is wrong. So the owner of the company was like, you going to the hospital. You're not working. You're going to go to the hospital. And so I left work, and I wasn't going to skip the hospital. He followed me, made sure that I went into the ER. Now, anybody inside of Atlanta know the hospital that I went to was in DeKalb County. I'm not going to any hospital in DeKalb County or where there's a bunch of us. So I'm like, you know what? I'll try to go to Gwinnett County. I'm going to get better service, better value out there. So I thought. So when he pulled off, I pulled off too. Changed my mind. And said, you know what, I'm going to ride this thing out. So I went back home. A lot of people was urging, go to the hospital. So now I told my mom and dad what was going on and this, that, and the third. And they contacted my cousin, TT, and her husband, Pastor William Francis, who were not that far from me. And upon, just like with my neighbor, they jumped on it, brought groceries, food, just things to help me get better. Asked me if I need anything else, and I'm like, I'm good. I wasn't good. The next thing I look up, I'm getting a knock at the door with DeKalb County, the paramedics, and my cousin. I believe they were still out in the van at that time. Now, they're in my space, and I hate this kind of attention. I always told people if I was having a heart attack, I'm gonna go somewhere by myself. I don't want to have it in front of people. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. So, I got all these people in my apartment, shoes on the carpet, which everybody know I don't like shoes on the carpet. They checking my vitals, checking everything. And so the guy was like, you want to go to the hospital? Absolutely not. And though they gave me a COVID test, the COVID test came back negative. So what this was, I had absolutely no idea. Next, my condition gets worse. Now I'm in the hospital. All right. Unbeknownst to anybody. So I'm in the hospital. And by this time, I didn't tell my parents, didn't tell anybody. But I think by this time, they were packing up to get ready to come down to Atlanta. So got out of the hospital. When I was in the hospital, and I told you about DeKalb County, I don't like going where we are because we're not valued. I had a black male doctor, and he was just nonchalant and whatever the case may be. And he was like, oh, it's just COVID. And so, I'm in the hospital. I'm not really being attended to. They didn't bring food. They didn't, nurses were coming in like every so often to check my vitals. It was just the worst. So basically, before they could give me any type of final analysis, before they can give me any type of other medical breakdown, I pretty much just put on my clothes and left the hospital. All right. Went back home, and I'm like, I can't work, and I love my beloved company was like, you take off, don't worry about anything. And I've been with this company for a while and great relationships and, things of that nature. So I was allowed time off. By that time, my parents came down, and I was happy to see my mom and dad. And I tell everybody with this story right here, with the situation with my parents, I believe truly healed me. Their presence healed me. Their love, their compassion healed me. Now, what I found out was it was not COVID. So they say, even though a lot of people that told me the symptoms about COVID, it matched. But it was upper respiratory infection with pneumonia attacking my lungs at the same time. I pretty much been a healthy individual my whole life, so I really didn't understand what was going on. But I would tell you this. During the course of everything that I was going through, the number one person I thought about was my youngest daughter, Peaches. Having a baby late at 44 in my life, I just wanted to live long enough. And I pray, that I live long enough to see her at least into her 20s. All right. This thought never crossed my mind prior to this health scare. Right. So upon going to the doctor, and what I found out was with COVID left a lot of people with conditions that they didn't have prior, especially if they had what they call pre-existing conditions medical wise. Right. So a lot of healthy people who caught COVID or whatever was going on during this time, during the pandemic, they had conditions they never had before. So going upon the doctor, all my vitals came back pretty good. Nothing major, nothing serious. But now my blood pressure was elevated. All right. And now I have my dad gave me a machine to check my blood pressure. And I stopped checking my blood pressure because that machine started giving me anxiety whenever I didn't see good numbers. So I wasn't going to be a slave to this machine. So I stopped checking my blood pressure. Went to the doctor, and the doctor, prescribed medication. She said, well, I didn't have to take the medication. My blood pressure was not that serious of an issue. And now knowing this, the anxiety set in with high blood pressure, what it can cause, what it could do, and what it could trigger. And I know with a lot of black men, a lot of our blood pressure issues, it is contributed to diet, but it could also be contributed to stress. And I've been I've been stressed out a long time, always worried about certain things I shouldn't be worried about, right? So by this time, I have a new reality of having to deal with blood pressure, having to watch my diet, make sure I'm eating low sodium foods and things of this nature, right? But during the midst of it all, with the presence of my parents being here, and I enjoyed having them here, listening to them fuss, fight, and argue. My dad want to watch ESPN. My mama want to watch Grey's Anatomy, and that woman can watch some Grey's Anatomy, boy. And just going to the store with my mother as I begin to walk and get stronger, going to the store with my mother, hanging out with my mom and dad at the mall, Peaches coming over, which, her mom was like, don't you kiss my baby. Don't you get my baby sick. But, it changed my whole reality and my outlook on life. So as I got stronger and I got better, still had time off from work, my parents actually took back off from St. Louis, gave him a hug. The baby was asleep. And I just started crying. You know what I'm saying? I started really just bawling because I love my mother and my father so much. They hit the road for their child, and they didn't have to do that, with me having family here in Atlanta. But just seeing them drive off, man, it just really touched me. It just hurt me. And, with your parents, as they get older, you start to notice certain differences in in their health, and you start to notice things about them as they age, and it just bothers you a little bit. But I just started crying. So around that time, there was a song when I was going through this whole health scare. And, because in the middle of the night, every night I thought about dying. I thought about death. I didn't think I was going to make it to the next morning, especially being an individual who stays by himself. So this song came to my mind. I heard about Rod Wave at that time. It's called 2019. And that song is like the theme of that part of my life. And I played it every day. And, it's a nice song. And I thought about my daughter. So I said, I got to live. I got to live. But moving forward and understanding some things, I realized that a lot of brothers my age, they sleep with the woman of anxiety every single night. When you go to bed and your heart is feeling a certain type of way, or your head is banging, or you're struggling with your breathing, that's anxiety. Or while you wake up feeling just as tired as you was before you went to sleep because your mind never turned off. Now, my reality is with a lot of my peers and a lot of friends, I get calls. One friend of mine who's like, man, my brother, big draws. Y'all don't know him, but that's what we call him. We call him big draws. An alumni from Ole Miss. I believe he was a defensive tackle. We call him big draws. When my brother called me and told me that he deals with the anxiety and worried about what could possibly happen to him in his health condition, man, it just broke me down. And I began to start thinking about it like I wasn't the only black man dealing with this every night when you lay down or when you by yourself. You could go out to the sports bar, kick it with your friends and do certain things like that. But when you in those alone moments, especially at night, and you feel that one bump in your body or that one heartbeat that skips or your head is banging or you dizzy or you seeing like little balls, little lights and stuff, you start to become concerned. And you hear stories about guys our age who've died or had a massive stroke and a heart attack, or, just cancer or things of that nature. By the way, shout out to all the breast cancer survivors. And this is Breast Cancer Month because it is October. I want to give a shout out to all the women who've survived it, women who are dealing with it, women who have overcame it, and those of you all who are going to overcome it. So shout out to breast cancer survivors and those who are dealing with that. But you start to see your peers fall off. Every time I look on Facebook, this person is passed, that person is passed. You get calls back home, they had a heart attack. Well, I'm like, they was healthy as a whistle, you know what I'm saying, or this, that, and the third. And you start thinking like, when is my number coming? Am I up next? Or to see another one of your buddies, man, tell you, hey, man, I felt like I was about to die last night. Well, why didn't call? Same probably reason why I didn't call, and you at the gym, you play ball with this person your whole life. You didn't did a lot of things. You didn't see them in a healthy state. But now as you get older, you start to see their health decline. It bothers you a little bit. And then, just like the other day I was hooping and I just looked over at my partner and I can visually see him struggling to breathe. And I did everything in me not to break down, man, And, a lot of people be like, man, oh, you being soft. No, it ain't about being soft, man. It's about life. When you young, you don't pay attention to diet. When you young and your body is strong and you mobile and you don't deal with arthritis and you don't have to worry about what you eat, you don't think about these things. Even though our peers told us you have to have healthy diets because these things are going to catch up to you. But when you're young and your body is strong, you don't believe it's going to happen to you. You don't believe that it's going to hit you, and then it hits you. And so now with a lot of my peers and a lot of my brothers, we're all sleeping with the woman of anxiety. We're all thinking about the next moment, the next hour, the next year. We're thinking about what happens if I'm not here with the babies, my grandchildren. You understand? We're thinking about things that we need to take care of and get our affairs together. We have to have the most uncomfortable conversations with our children and sometimes with our parents. Like, yo, we have to start writing this paperwork up. People been saying this for years. My daddy always told us growing up. He always prepared us for when his day comes and he's not here no more. And I have to do the same thing with my children. Now I have to prepare and get my affairs in order. Not to say that they haven't been in order, and I stress to everybody, man, contact a great life insurance salesperson, and not only just one who sells life insurance. Get you a person who also can teach you about money management and investment. I got a partner named Gil. All right, man, the brother's phenomenal. So anybody looking for life insurance, anybody looking for somebody who also wants to have life insurance and other incentives and money investment, that's your guy. Also, Nicolette is Coach Nicolette. What is her last name? Is it Kennedy? Nicolette Kennedy, I believe it is. And my girl Shell Garnett back in St. Louis. Hit these people up on Facebook, man, when it comes to life insurance, because one thing for sure, we all leaving. We all have that day when we're going to transition. So you have to have your house in order. So, with that being said, it constantly stays on my mind. It constantly stays on my mind when I'm in bed at night, so when I wake up feeling good, I'm like, yo, I made it through another night. But there are nights, man, where, I just feel certain things physically. I wake up, I sit up, I do breathing techniques. I try to counter these things. And the reality of it is I still don't always eat right. And I need to. So, how some things were not relevant to you in the past, but they become relevant to you because based on the situation that you deal with. There's a movie called Meet Joe Black. Now, everybody know one of my codifications, one of my codes is I don't watch white movies. I don't praise whiteness. I don't worship whiteness. I don't give it no creed. I don't watch white awards. None of that stuff matters to me. I don't care. But you have certain movies. You have certain movies that, maybe the characters are white or whatever the case may be. They have value. This is something that I may need to watch and learn from. So in this movie, Joe Black, he's visited by death in the human form of Brad Pitt. When I tell you that I look at that movie completely different now than I did then, and it blows my mind because in that movie, if you can remember, Anthony Hopkins, he will hear these voices. Death will be talking to him, or he'll feel like he's about to have a heart attack. But the deal was that Death wanted to experience what it was like to have a human life for a few days, and he'd give him a few more days on his life. And then he ends up falling in love with his daughter. So it's a very unique, interesting movie that now has value to me. No matter what color or ethnicity you are, it has value to any man dealing with what I'm dealing with. All right. And I understand there's white men dealing with this too. I told you, I want to make this platform universal. Everybody's dealing with the same situation when it comes to health, but I'm always significantly going to be triggered or geared towards, countering white supremacy, racism for non-white people. But I know what I'm talking about. There's all types of men of all ethnicities dealing with it. So just looking at that movie, a lot of times when my body don't feel right, it's like Brad Pitt in the movie, like Death is talking to me, whispering to me, hey, don't eat that chicken. Don't eat that fried fish. You know what I mean? Don't drink that energy drink. This is a reality, and then when you go out and all your life, you've been kicking it at the sports bar, eating chicken wings. Now you ordering salad. People don't understand that, man. You can't get full off of salad. See, a lot of times what I've been told by some of my great dietary minds is that people who eat for taste, they don't eat for nutrition. Now it's to the point that I eat for nutrition. And guess what? When I eat the right way, my body feels right. I pray to be here many more years, and if I'm not, then I'm ready and I have no worries. Sometimes I may have concerns about my kids and the state of the world once I'm gone, but I have no worries. I don't have a fear of death. I'm just not ready to die. I don't want to die no time soon, but I know I don't want to be here forever either. If I get to the point where I just can't function anymore, or if I'm on a life support situation, pull the plug, cause. But and just that time, just reflecting back, I just remember the love I got not only from my parents, but my cousin Queen G, Cooley, Jazzy, what I'm saying, TT, Will. Really Jazzy and Cooley, because they were on it, man. It was so funny, man, how they was checking in and just, that's love, man. That's like unparalleled love, man. You know what I mean? And value, But brothers, I want to tell y'all, man, you know what you need to do to stay healthy. You know what you need to do for us to remain here for our kids and for our children. My life has been forever changed as far as the way that I think about health, the way I think about life. And, it's something that we're going to all have to cross that river. We're going to all have to make that transition one day. And, the thing about it is, no matter how healthy you are, if you don't smoke, like I've never smoked or drank, that don't mean nothing. I know people that smoke or drink don't have high blood pressure or elevated blood pressure. I know people that have the worst lifestyles, the worst eating habits, and they go to the doctor and get good numbers. So, people be like, well, you got to live a healthy lifestyle. You got to be vegan. You got to do this. That ain't proven. It's not proven. You know what I mean? I know an individual to where, according to their bloodline, they have to eat beef. So, you just have to live your life the best way you can. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and be reckless with your diet. I'm not telling you to go out there and drink the hardest liquor and drink the worst foods. I'm not telling you that. But what I am saying is, balance yourself out. Enjoy your life to the best possibility, but balance yourself out. If you're going to eat bad 2 days, eat good 4 days, eat good 3 days. Prayer and meditation gets me through a lot. So I try to battle this anxiety of not knowing. I try to calm my body down. Brothers, treat yourself to the best, and women who's dealing with the same thing, treat yourself to the best. Go get pampered, do things that make you happy. Get around them grandbabies, you know what I'm saying, when you don't have to babysit them. Just enjoy your life to the best that you can. If you made it to your late 40s and your 50s, man, God has blessed you. You've been allowed to live this long because a lot of people didn't make it. And a lot of people I thought was supposed to make it. Like I always say, my cousin Pumpkin, I think about her often, almost daily, because you couldn't have told me when we were young that she wouldn't be here with me today in my 50s. You could have never made me believe my cousin wouldn't be here, but she's not. And we just don't know when the next person is going to go, how they going to go, and when they going to go. But you have to enjoy each and every day of life. This is why I love family members who stay in touch, who stay in contact. And another thing, before I wrap this up, brothers, I want y'all to understand something. When it comes to the medical field, your doctors, your institutions, you have to go where you're going to be valued. There is a real reality of medical integrity that is compromised when it comes to non-white people, both male and female. That's a real thing. It's a war. White supremacy is the longest war. So when you step in there, let me tell you what happened. My same doctor, which my doctor the bomb, and if you want to know, if those of you in Atlanta, brothers, men and women, if you want to know about her, her name is Dr. Kanani. She's over in Snellville at Premier Healthcare. She is the bomb. If you're looking for a new doctor, a new physician, hit her up. The nursing staff, they're professional, they're kind, they take care of business, they stay on top of you, so that is a great practice. So I just want to put that out there. And no, this is not sponsored. They didn't pay me to say that. I just give a shout out to good people. But let me tell you what happened. So they did send me to the cardiologist to make sure everything was great, right? And I've always had a good heart, don't matter. So I go there and I had to do a stress test. But in the office, and with me understanding how white supremacy, racism works, and when I'm in the midst, because it was supposed to be a black cardiologist and a black man at that, but I got an office full of white women, so I already knew what it was. So I'm sitting in the office and I'm looking at this lady load my information in her laptop. She loaded me in as a 78-year-old white woman. A 78-year-old white woman. What does that mean? What that means is that they could tell me that I have a heart issue or a weak heart, and then next thing you know, I got to go to surgery. I got to take this kind of medication or whatever, and it'll trigger something way worse. When I might have a healthy, strong heart that day, somebody looking for a heart donor. I mean, this game is that deep and it's that real. People were saying for years how a lot of people come up missing and snatch, particularly dark-skinned people, because they have the greatest levels of melanin. The crystal black people have the greatest amounts and levels of melanin in their system. And we know that melatonin is selling out here. Body parts is selling out here. Nobody believed it for years. So with that being said, when you go to the doctor, if you're not going to deal with somebody who looks like you or somebody who doesn't value you, you make sure that they put the right information in there and that you get the right analysis. Because when I go to them, and this is not a sweeping indictment on all white physicians and doctors. Let me put that out there. This is not a sweeping. I'm not saying all of them are like this. But you had better make sure that you got a good breakdown of what's going on with you. Because a lot of them could look at something like, if I get an MRI, I'm not medically trained to understand what that MRI is saying. But they are. They can see something going on wrong with you right then and there on the spot. It don't tell you nothing and let you walk right out of that office, and then 6 months down the line, you didn't have a medical issue that they knew about. This is a real reality, right? And I went through that in 2008. I've always been a guy who goes to the doctor regularly. I stay up on top of my health. And I went to the doctor, and real quickly, I'm going to say this because this is real. This is a real reality, and I experienced this. Went to the doctor in 2008, right? Got my blood work back. Next thing they say something didn't match with the glucose or some whatever test they gave me, right? Now, they said that I had a hyperactive thyroid, right? Never knew anything about it. They said it causes weight gain, weight loss, causes my eyes to bulge. And I don't know why they say that, because my eyes are already bulging, right? So go figure. So they started sending me to the endocrinologist, and I started going to the ENT. Damn. I just thought about something. 1 second. Every day. Oh, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Sorry about that. I wanted to profile this watch. Woo! Hey. Sorry, but anyway. I'm like, man, I ain't even got my watch on to go with my hat. But what I'm saying is, getting back to this story real quick, because I want to cut these things down. So go down there, and I'm going to see the doctor, and this is where they check your ear, nose, and throat, right? So went to LabCorp in Duluth, and his brother was like, yo, he said, what did they send you here for? I'm like, they said I had a hyperthyroid and this, that, and the third. But according to my blood work, because he values another brother, he valued me as a black man. He started to look at the numbers, was like, I don't know, man. You know, that might not be it. So he recommended that I go to an ENT. You know, no, I don't think it was him. I don't know who told me, but I ended up going to an ENT. It was a black woman right off of 285. Her practice is somewhere in that area. Went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, which is what an ENT is. And so they stuck this tube. And, you know, and I know my doctor always talk about me every time I have to draw blood. I got all these tattoos. And when they start sticking me and talking about putting stuff in my body, you know, I get a little leery. So anyway, they take this tube and stick it up your nose, and they search for all this stuff. I guess that's dealing with the endocrine system. And even she said, you know what? I don't know. I don't see nothing that they're talking about, right? So I started to research this medication that I was taking. I believe it was methimazole 10. Methimazole 10, I believe, is the name of that medication. And if I'm wrong, anybody that knows anything about thyroid medicine, you correct to put it down in the comments. So when I would take this medicine was about the side of a bead that you put on a little girl's hair, but it was so toxic. When I took this one little pill early in the morning, it made me tired, made my hands clammy. I had sweat around my eyes, and I was just weak. Like, I mean, I was a big dude, and I couldn't even pick up, and I was doing physical labor. I couldn't even pick up barely 40, 50 pounds off the ground, right? I'm like, what is this stuff? So when I did the research, everybody online, they was talking about holistic medicine and things of that nature. And this is really before the explosion of holistic practices. And they were like, get off the medication. So I researched this medication to come to find out this medication was something that cancer patients deal with. I forgot to add that I did do a biopsy on my neck. My doctor thought they seen a cancerous mass in my neck. So she didn't know if it was muscle or if a mass. Came back negative, you know, no cancer, no nothing. So why the doctor, and I cannot mention her name for legal purposes, right? But why this doctor lied to me and told me that this is what I had and gave me this medication that most people who have cancer take. So what happened was the conditions began to, as they say, I guess, go into remission, whatever. I don't even know if I've ever had the condition, to be honest with you, because everything that they said was supposed to happen, it never happened. None of that never happened. Nothing. So I go back to the doctor. She takes my blood work. She's like, hey, you know, your Graves. It was Graves they said I had. She said, your Graves have went into remission. That's what's up. She was like, you've been taking your medication. On my daughter right there before me, I pulled it out of my pocket. I shook it. A whole bottle full of this medication. And this woman became livid. Me and her are going back and forth in this office, and I did call her the B word, which to this day I do apologize, to the point where the front desk secretary heard us and threatened to call DeKalb County. I didn't give a damn, because why would you blatantly lie to my face about a medication, about a medical condition that I did not have that you claim that I had? You know why? Because there's a certain thing called Big Pharma. Doctors get paid for putting people on medication. And I'm preaching to the choir. We all know that now. But I didn't understand that then. And when people said that back then, I was one of those people like, yeah, right. They don't do stuff like that. They do stuff like that. So I'm telling you, brothers, sisters, and people alike, when you go, you have to choose your physician wisely. When you go to a practice, you have to choose them wisely. If they don't value you, they are probably more than likely going to indirectly kill you medically, because these people are trained by the eye to read certain x-rays. They're trained to read certain things medically that should tell you what's going on. And if they're not going to be truthful and honest with you, then you're in trouble, right? So listen, brothers, man, let's work it out. Let's be healthy. And I'm telling you, you're not alone. All my 50-year-old brothers, my 60-year-old brothers, you're not alone. I deal with that same anxiety at night too. I deal with those same thoughts every day too. But I'm dedicating this particular episode to y'all to let y'all know you ain't alone. But at the same time, we got work to do. We can realign the way that we think. You think healthy, you're gonna become healthy, and I feel it every day. You know, when I wake up and I meditate, I don't pick up that phone. I used to pick up the phone and go right and check certain things on social media, whatever. No, I gotta, man, listen, what I do out my bed, man, you know, man, you 50 years old. Y'all know how it is. We get up in stages. Once you sit up, 10 minutes, throw your legs off, another 10 minutes, then you stand up. That's 30 minutes we took to get up out the bed. You know what I'm saying? No cap. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. So I just get to the point now, man, where I just kind of literally just roll out and fall out the bed and go right into meditation. Go into some push-ups and go right into meditation. I get the body active and going ASAP, right? And so that's what we have to learn how to do. Our thoughts are powerful, man. Our words are powerful. And I try to speak as powerful as I can, as positive as I can, have the most healthiest thoughts as I can. Listen, y'all think, hey, listen, man, this is like, I like to be transparent on my platform. Listen, I even meditate on how I make love to a woman. Like, I be banging their brains out, you know what I'm saying? In my 60s, 70s, you know what I'm saying? I even think about how long I'm gonna knock them out. You know what I mean? I ain't playing. I'm trying to be that bull forever. You understand? So, you know, you got to think about things like that and eat healthy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the man said, it's good to keep the gang up. So I think like that. Sometimes I close my eyes and I think about how, you know, when I go to the basketball court, moving lucid and fluid like a young boy. Y'all get in that water. Brother had hip surgery, said get in the water. So I get in the water. I go in the sauna, you know what I'm saying? Get that stuff, get them toxins out of my body. So we have to be very mindful about how we think, how we eat, and how we do things. But you're not alone. But you don't have to stay in that state, brothers. We don't have to stay in that state. And I'm giving a shout out to all black men, you know what I'm saying, out there in this war called white supremacy, whether you aware of it or not. You know, I'm proud of y'all. I salute y'all. Y'all the best. We got to be here for our women, for those of them that love us. We got to be here for our babies. We got to be here for our parents. We got to be here for the community. More than all, you got to be here for yourself. And you can do it. Get up off that couch, right? Just walk. Somebody told me movement is medicine. Do some crunches. Start somewhere. Get in that water. The results start to come, man. So listen, man, y'all always know, man, I value you and I love you, right? And I want to say this too. On the last episode, I gave a shout out to people who I care a lot about, the Libras, and I forgot my sister Shay. So I want to give a shout out to my sister Shay, because I forgot to mention her the last episode. And man, shout out to all the Leos, man. I know a lot of Leos. I didn't realize half of y'all were Leos, man. You know, enjoy y'all day. You made it another year around the sun, so they say, and continue to get better in life. On that note, man, listen, I value you. I love you. And whenever man acts according to God's will, humanity will always work. Peace. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.